All right. I'm happy to see you as an international audience joining our webcast today. That's great. So I can say hello, good morning, and even good evening to everybody. Thank you for joining us today for Ubisecure's webinar, How to Get Your Digital Service to Market Quickly with IDaaS. My name is Volker Zinser. I'm Country Manager for Central Europe, presenting this to you. A very warm welcome to all of our participants joining us from various locations around the world, most likely from home right now, depending on your country, I think. We are going to cover today a lot of this hot topic, IDaaS, in a short space of time, including drivers for identity management, IDaaS versus cloud versus on-premise or even a hybrid solution, commercial and technical considerations and implementing IDaaS. We will reserve 10 minutes at the end for questions, so please submit those in the control panel you have, I think on the right side on your screen, as you think of them. Please don't be shy. It's the best to have some questions to answer. It's also important for the others, I think. I'll just briefly mention that today's webinar is hosted by Ubisecure, an identity management software and services provider, helping organizations reduce identity data breach risk, improve operational efficiencies, and improve user experience. And we'll show you how to find us online at the end of the webinar. Our presenter for today is Oscar Santolala. He's one of our fantastic sales engineers at Ubisecure, which involves supporting our customers and partners to lead successful identity management projects. He also leads our IAM Academy training program and hosts our Let's Talk About Digital Identity podcast. So it's over to you, Oscar.
Thank you, Volker. Hi everyone, my name is Oscar and I'll be hosting the webinar today on how to get your digital service to market quickly with IDaaS. A quick note on the term IDaaS. It stands for Identity as a Service. So as with other SaaS models, software as a service models, this is identity management delivered as a cloud-based managed service. It's also called SaaS-delivered IAM or SaaS-delivered Identity and Access Management, and this is a term that Gartner uses. That's why it's also shown here. So let's get started. And the most important questions to ask now are, why do organizations need an identity management system? Or put in another way, what typically drives organizations to look for and invest in an identity solution? And the truth is that there are many answers. But these are the three that we have seen time and time again, and are the three key drivers behind identity management investment when an organization is either building or upgrading their digital services. And I'm going to use three examples of companies everybody knows to illustrate this. So first of all, avoiding a data breach. This is, of course, particularly topical today because of the shift to remote working. We have seen a dramatic increase of phishing attacks, and the reason is that we have less than optimal security practices in which organizations had no choice but overhauling their IT practices almost overnight. So they were all forced to do that. It was difficult to keep security as usual. And we know that more than 80% of data breaches are caused by stolen, weak, or default passwords. More than 80% of data breaches are caused by stolen, weak, or default passwords. And let's see one example to illustrate this. It's about the Disney Plus streaming services. This Disney Plus streaming services saw thousands of hacked accounts like the one you see there for sale in just hours of its recent launch that happened a few months ago. And Disney confirmed that it was the result of credential stuffing, means that compromised passwords had been reused for the service. So measures such as introducing multi-factor authentication, we talk about using more than one identity verification method, and single sign-on, which needs just one set of credentials to maintain, keep secure, and most importantly, revoke access to all authorized systems. All these practices go a very long way to mitigating the risk of hacked accounts and data breaches. And we're going to see more in detail of these two practices. The second key driver, improving user experience. Data identity is a fundamental aspect of a service's user experience. So looking at the user experience, as an example, 45% of users give up if registration to a service is hard. That's something you might have experienced. I'm sure you have experienced. You went to a website trying to enroll to a service, trying to buy something and create a user account in order to do that, and you find it very difficult. You find it so difficult that you just gave up. And what happened? The service behind that, well, lost you as a customer. So making registration and login process really easy with capabilities such as single sign-on and identity providers are absolutely key for converting users, that's what you want, and retaining users. Identity providers, I just mentioned, identity providers means that a user can bring their own identity, means that if they are used to log into other services with social media or for bank authentication, well, they'll be happy to do that. They use the same identity on your service. So here an example, well-known example. You see on the left side the Google application and services ecosystem, and I'm sure you have used or you use regularly at least few of these services. So imagine if you had to sign in separately for each of these Google apps. It's really hard to imagine that, because Google already has deployed long time ago single sign-on, which removes the friction of doing that, having to log in all the time. So makes very easy to switch for users to switch between their apps and services. And also the other thing, what you see on the right side is Google also acts as an identity provider for application and services that utilize their sign-in with Google API. So this is what you want on your service. You want that have the button sign in with Google or sign in with other social media or sign in with bank authentication. This is what you really want in order to make very easy for your for any user to use your service. And the third one of the drivers is about complying with regulation. Digital identity is a key enabler to complying with regulations, such as the European Union General Data Protection Regulation, that is GDPR, and other regulations in other jurisdictions, of course. In fact, we conducted a survey already some time ago which showed us that 50% of participants said that achieving GDPR compliance without CIAM would be impossible, just impossible. And these are words from people working in government, in big corporation, different types of organizations. They were aware that they need CIAM, customer identity and access management, to enable compliance. And one of the the easy ways. It's a core feature of CIAM and IDaaS is self-service account management. We're going to see a concrete example right after this. Self-service account management is such a capability that CIAM offers to enable compliance. So here an example, concrete example again. We have LinkedIn. LinkedIn has one page in their user interface that is account, in which you can go there as a user and change your email address. You can add more email addresses. You can change your phone numbers. You can change your password. You can change the two-step verification. So you can do many actions related to your account by yourself. That's what I mean by self-service account management. And this makes very easy for you because you can go at any time, you can go and change this. You don't need to contact LinkedIn customer service. Very easy for the customers, and also much easier for LinkedIn because they don't have to use their customer service people to deal with this. Now, when organizations need to invest in identity management, how they decide which deployment model they need. IDaaS, which is the topic for today, cloud or on-premise. Identity as service is a cloud-based managed service, meaning that an organization employing IDaaS wouldn't need to think about managing deployment, security, configuration, and maintenance in-house, or that would be really minimal. It typically includes essential standardized feature sets such as self-service account management, already mentioned, multi-factor authentication, and single sign-on. And all these core capabilities can be deployed very quickly and easily. Okay, as we see in the feature in the picture there are two other deployment models. So some companies' identity needs may go beyond IDaaS capability. That is true, and this is where the cloud and on-premise deployments are therefore. Typically, when we start looking at more than 100,000 users or legacy systems integration or advanced IAM capabilities such as delegation of authority or outbound federation, we must start looking at whether a more complex cloud, on-premise, or hybrid solution is a better fit for your organization. So feel free to follow up with us after this webinar if you want a deeper dive into cloud or on-premise solution, or get advice from us on which is the best for your organization. We can have a discussion about that. Ubisecure offers and has expertise with all three deployment models. But for now, let's dive into our topic for today, IDaaS. IDaaS typically include essential standardized identity capabilities, the capabilities that form the basis of identity management success. So the ones you see there are the core features that a typical IDaaS use case provides from Ubisecure perspective. First of all, registration and login, already mentioned before. Identity providers, again, connecting existing identities, allowing that your service can be authenticated with existing identities such as login with Google, login with other social media account, login with bank ID, bank authentication, or even corporate identities such as Salesforce ID or Office 365. The third one is about multi-factor authentication. So using passwords still, but adding an extra authentication factor such as one-time passwords typically, or we can add biometric verification, etc. Adding a second factor. And single sign-on. Single sign-on is the fourth one. This, as you know, allows, like the case of Google, allows a user to log in. I log in one application, and then if when I go to another application, well, I don't need to log in again. I'm already automatically logged into other associated applications or domains. The fifth one is self-service account management, also mentioned before. Users can reset their passwords, make other account changes. And the last one is the capability to integrate any existing services or applications that your organization already has. So we integrate all of the applications as far as they use the standard, the identity standards such as OpenID Connect, SAML OAuth 2, and WS Federation. And then all these mix of capabilities that you see now on the screen, all this comes at a per user per month cost in IDaaS, regardless of whether your users are internal or external. So now I'm going to show you how all these capabilities have made a real difference to organizations with two examples from Ubisecure customers. First of all, the S Group. S Group is a Finnish retail group that owns a big number of supermarkets, mini markets, restaurants, hotels, gas station, financial insurance services, and really several brands, several completely different brands. We can think of the S Group as the Finnish and Baltic equivalent to the UK-based Tesco or the US-based Walmart if we compare their relatively breadth and reach to consumers in these respective home countries. So S Group uses Ubisecure Identity Platform to achieve a range of CIM functionality designed to around providing customer with a single identity for all S Group applications and services. So key elements, key benefits are this: registration and login using social, business, and S Group accepts strong identity, including bank authentication. We have also provided workflows for multi-factor authentication and authorization based on different user profiles. And single sign-on across all group application and services. So S Group has different websites, completely different brands for different of their services of their companies, and most of them have also their mobile applications. So single sign-on across all group application and services, and also 24/7 self-service identity and data management portal, similar like you saw on LinkedIn. All this mix of capabilities, CIM capabilities, has led to very improved customer journey and engagement. So S Group, for the ones that are familiar with the corporation, they have a loyalty program. So you can imagine how much all these easy journeys, improve customer journey engagement can help for a loyalty program. From the company's perspective, this has lowered the support cost and improved security and privacy controls around their identity data, much more security. Now, a second example. This example comes from the e-government, and it's from the UK, from the United Kingdom. We talk about Brighton and Hove City Council, which they just launched recently at the beginning of this year, February 2020. They launched online services called My Account. It was based on our identity APIs. And some of the key points here are secure access for registration, registration of the citizens in the services with some verification, and of course subsequent logins in tightly controlled access management to their different services. User manage their own account and credential settings, also using self-service, which for the city council saves support time and costs. And then single sign-on across their services, such as you can see there in the screen, council taxes, rubbish and recycling. These are some of their services. And also they included a cloud-based third-party system. And you see that some other services that the city council has are going to be integrated in the future. Integrated as required. Now that the identity service is deployed, it's very easy for the Brighton Hub City Council team to add more services, connect more services to the same identity platform. So as you see, though, you don't need to connect every service at once. You can start with a fewer services, and gradually, as soon as you have new services, as soon as it's the right time to add other services, you can digitalize your services and add them to the identity platform. So both the S Group and Brighton and Hub City Council, we have case studies for this and for several others in different industries. All of these are available as case studies, customer success stories on our website. So feel free to download, go there to the website and download those to get inspiration, ideas, concrete ideas, and best practices for your own identity initiatives. So now let's talk about commercial considerations around IDaaS. Because of the nature of IDaaS involving the standardized features we already been speaking about, single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, etc., this can be deployed very quickly. That's important. Can be deployed very quickly, much like any other software as a service solution. So IDaaS is a great option if you need to get your service to market really fast, which is a situation that many organizations are finding themselves right now, as you know, with this significant shift towards digital first, replacing many face-to-face interactions. So time to market is a good reason. Second, we talk about plugin expertise. So what is that? We often speak about the commercial benefits of buying an identity and access management solution, what we would call plugging in expertise, rather than building the capabilities in-house, which is essentially reinventing the wheel. Nobody wants to reinvent the wheel. We know that digital identity is complex. So by buying tried and tested identity APIs, you enable your developers to focus on developing your core business and creating real value for your customers, while at the same time plugging in identity capabilities with IDaaS takes the risk of in-house development away. And thirdly, the trend toward IDaaS uptake is really strong and is only growing. Gartner estimates that by 2020, the IDaaS market size will be $4.5 billion. Just for comparison, that's up from $1 billion in 2016. And Gartner estimates that by 2020, IDaaS will be the chosen delivery model for more than 80% of new access management purchases globally. Now, a few technical considerations about IDaaS. IDaaS is, again, a cloud solution. And this is great in terms of giving you the flexibility to quickly adapt to big changes in your requirements. and also to scale your business as you grow. So you might have a new service that you wish to have a big increase on your users, reach hundreds of thousands or even millions. That's what your goal is, but you don't know if that's going to happen very quickly in a couple of months, or it will take 1 or 2 years. So you really don't know that. So that is why um, this the cloud the cloud capability is what is going to help you to adjust as at the growth you have. So some organizations prefer to opt for on-premise. Some may even be forced to choose on-premise due to regulatory restrictions. But as we have seen, the trend towards SaaS solutions shows that more and more businesses are realizing the benefits of cloud in their organization. Okay, second one is about cross-device and mobile. I know you're thinking of mobile apps. If not now, then in the near future. So IDaaS helps you to connect both mobile and web applications, as it not only transfer the security and usability benefits from the web experience to mobile, so not only that, but also IDaaS uses mobile as part of your authentication toolkit. So your application could have um, capabilities of mobile authenticators embedded in your applications. And thirdly, I'm often asked, always my team gets this question: can all my applications be integrated? That's what customers ask. And the answer is yes. With Ubisecure IDaaS, all your application services can be integrated as far as they support OpenID Connect, O2, SAML of or VS Federation, which are the four core identity standards today. One more thing about the technicalities, how to implement IDaaS. So let's think of your team already, your organization already has decided to implement IDaaS. So the step one on the integration process is a workshop. Can be typically 1 to 2 hours workshop at least between your technical specialists and some members of my team, of a sales engineering team, in which in this workshop we discuss key elements of your system. And so we are going to ensure that the integration is smooth and fast. So we talk the very important things to make sure that everything goes smooth as soon as we start with the integration. Something interesting to mention here is that your technical specialists, at least some of them, might have enough privileged access to not only to your applications but to other relevant um, services from that will be used in the integration. Just to give an example, so might be needed access to a VPNs, might be needed configurations to the VPN, might be needed if you have SMS gateway. So several things. Um, it's important that someone in your team has all the possible privileged access to make sure that when we start the integration, we do everything very quickly without interruption or waiting for another person um, giving permission for that. And then the key to implement is about APIs. Ubisecure has the biggest part of the capabilities are available in APIs. And the API can do many things in many aspects of the integration, give flexibility for that. Let's think of verification. Here we're talking about the registration workflow. So you can create a registration workflow very simple, in which you put a button, create your account or register, and a user goes and put a name and email, and that's it. And already the user has created a user account. So that's simple, but you are not verifying anything about this user. So you would like to, depending on your business, you would like to do some type of verification there. So we can do with APIs, we can do callback backend calls to other services that can provide that sort of verification. Can be about the verification about the identity of the company, can be about identity of the person, and this can be done by financial institutions, can be done by the mobile operator, etc. So there are few options for that. Verification of the identity, calling external services via API. So the second is very, very important. Someone in your team, if not in your technical team, someone in the commercial side of your team is going to ask that the branding of your company is very smooth across all these new user interfaces. There will be some new user interfaces, as you know. Register a new user, there's a new interface there. Login pages, and there's a new user interface. So pieces of user interface, and the same with self-service account management. So you want to keep the same branding. And again, this is available via UI, user experience APIs. Then about integration, there are APIs that allow integration with anything that is needed. If it's needed, integration with portal, CRMs, internal IAM systems, IDP proxies, or external authentication methods. So there are APIs to make integration simpler. And finally, think more in the future, as we mentioned, that you can start with a set of capabilities, and you can add later more. You can integrate more your services or applications in the future. You don't have to do everything at start. So there are also APIs for doing automation of configuration tasks. So make it very easy for you to do the forthcoming configuration and integration. So now the last thing I want to show you before handing over to Volker is tell you that Ubisecure has recently launched a free trial of our IDaaS solution. So if you are interested in trying this for yourself, then visit our website in ubisecure.com/free-IDaaS. You can register yourself and find and get the access for the IDaaS trial. So all in all, what we are covering in this webinar has been all the ways how we can help you to get your digital service to market very quickly using IDaaS. So with that, I would like to hand over to Volker.
Thank you very much for this very interesting information you gave us. We'll now open the floor to questions. Of course, this is the most important. Please, again, write those or type those comments in the box on your right-hand side, I think, on the screen. And we will go through it, definitely. We received some questions here. Maybe I just give it a read one by one, and Oscar, please go ahead and give some brief answers on them. So the first one I got is looking at the typical use case and integrating existing apps with OpenID Connect and so on. How much expertise do we need with those standards in-house? Or would it be Ubisecure who would deal with that aspect?
Okay, thanks, Volker, for the question. Okay, let me repeat the question. So you're asking about the expertise that the customer's development team will require in order to do this integration regarding to OpenID Connect, for instance, this standard protocol for identity. And well, the answer is that I'm sure most of the developers in most organizations are very tech savvy, know something about OpenID Connect, O2, and this protocol. So most of them already know something, but I can tell you they don't need to go too deep into that. There can be up to two cases for that question. One is that the application that the customer already has is already OpenID Connect compatible. So that's is ready, and that's the easier case. And the other is that it's not. If it's not, well, there has to be some development from scratch from the customer side. But even in that case, OpenID Connect, there are available libraries in every single programming language, so that's not difficult either. But in the easiest case, when in the most common case is in which the application already are OpenID Connect compatible, we have in our developer portal, we have a very good description of our APIs, and we can of course can help on that. Something I think you also mentioned earlier, that we have a training program called IAM Academy. So there's the customers in need, they can enroll to that, or they can access the educational material for that. But all in all, is something OpenID Connect or protocols like that is something that there's a lot of libraries and documentation, plus the documentation that Ubisecure offers. So it's not I would say it's not a big showstopper for the developers on any organization.
Okay, thank you. Here's the next one for you. It's about the time for go-to-market. I think you mentioned that you mentioned it in your speech. How long does it take to implement IDaaS compared with other deployment methods?
Okay, so how long IDaaS takes to implement? And one of the biggest assets of IDaaS is that it's really fast to go to market. The typical time is between 1 and 2 days. That's the typical. There will be of course exceptions, but that's what a typical is going to. The customer will have it in that time frame. Of course, based on the requirements, there are use cases that are very straightforward, very simple, and there are other customers that have more complex requirement. That 1 or 2 days is compared to cloud. In cloud, Identity Cloud can take up to 1 week, for instance, in the range of up to 1 week, and on-prem can take even few weeks. So it's typically complex, and it's typically for bigger projects where there are many more requirements, but because also includes the installing the software and many more steps and many more requirements. But all in all, IDaaS is 1 or 2 days.
Wow, that's really quick. That's really quick. Amazing. So there's a question. This came up a couple of times, and especially here in Germany, we get this question all the time in any cases. And here, especially, how does Ubisecure manage client data securely and compliantly with IDaaS and cloud? I mean, security and compliance, there's no way around, Oscar, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And our name uses secure, Ubisecure. So we deliver security among other benefits to the companies. Absolutely. And it's clear that we take confidentiality, security, and data protection very seriously, and with several levels of we implement this. Specifically, we maintain the ISO 27K accreditation that is renewed yearly. So there's a third-party company auditing our processes and verifies that our processors, our systems are doing high levels of security practices. And of course, as we are in the European Union, and big part of our customers either are from European Union or have businesses in the European Union, we have to follow with the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR. So we have a data protection officer who takes care not only Ubisecure as a company, but also any agreement processes, practices that are related also with our product.
Okay. That sounds good. Thank you. And then I have, for the moment, I think I have the last one here. How easy is it to upgrade my deployment from IDaaS to cloud or on-prem? I think it's about if you see that IDaaS implementation as a door opener or as a start in a project or so.
Sure, I'm sure. As I mentioned in the webinar, is that some company might start with IDaaS because they wish to have many users, but they have a number now is growing. They don't know how fast it's going to grow, so they start with IDaaS, which is what we are recommending a lot, especially for small businesses at this time. But of course, there will be a time, hopefully, that they have a big success and the number of users is growing, and they might have challenges in, let's say, in performance, scalability. So they need to move from IDaaS to cloud or on-premise. That's what we recommend. So either each of these migrations are not difficult, are relatively easy, and because we have a lot of experience doing that. We have experience doing migrations for projects that started small or with a limited set of requirements, and we have done a lot of migrations already, up to millions of users. So we have a lot of experience to that. So that's not something that the customer should worry. And of course, also reminding that we have the IDaaS trial. So that's also one way to see how, if they can build something basic in this trial, that can be also migrated. But overall, we have good practices and the right experience to do this without hassle for a customer.
Okay, thank you, Oscar. I think we need to wrap up here. Thanks everybody for joining Ubisecure in this webinar today to talk about how to get your digital service to market quickly with IDaaS. Our contact details are here on the right-hand side. Depending on your countries where you are, you can just dial the number. You can definitely contact me directly, of course, if you want. Please do follow up with any further questions. I know they usually arise after all. And please, I encourage you to start your free IDaaS trial to see in live environment what we were talking about. Thank you. Have a great rest of the week, and always, especially in these times, stay safe and healthy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.